Hey everyone, welcome back. Gumi Community Day has finally been fully revealed to us. We know all of the bonuses, all of the rewards. Let's take a look at it. So Sunday, June 9th from 2 to 5 p.m., that's when this Community Day is going to be. And the move is going to be Thunder Punch Goodra. We already did a video kind of going over what movesets could look like on Goodra. Thunder Punch was a move we looked at, and I'm pretty happy to see this. I saw some people say, Thunder Punch might not be the most interesting move for it. I personally think this is an amazing move. If you're just looking straight at the simulations, then you're doing something wrong. This is great coverage. It's going to give Goodra a great niche here in the Go Battle League as a dragon type who can hit back not just against Skarmory, but against Dugong, Azumarill, and it even has better matchups into things like Poliwrath and Mandibuzz, which used to give it a pretty hard time too. And as for bonuses here for Gumi Community Day, we can see that it's actually 3 times Catch Stardust. That's probably my favorite bonus. It's a great time to go out and catch, so even if you're not a big PvP player, this is a great Community Day for you. Alright, so really quickly, let's get into some breakpoints that we can look for with Goodra. Breakpoints, if you don't know, are basically when a fast move can do 1 more or 1 less damage depending on what your attack stat is. The first one we're going to look at is Goodra into Shadow Gligar. Goodra generally is going to be doing 3 damage to a Shadow Gligar if it's a high rank, whereas it can do up to 4 damage if you have enough attack on your Goodra to reach that. You can see here this is a high rank Goodra versus a high rank Gligar. If we click battle, you can see that the closer the number is to 500, it's going to be a pretty even matchup. But when it's purple like this, that means the opponent wins. When it's blue like this, that means you win. So Goodra, using Aqua Tail and Dragon Breath, actually ends up losing the 0 shield matchup, the 2 shield matchup, and just barely winning the 1 shield matchup. So let's take a look at what it looks like if you have the Dragon Breath breakpoint against Shadow Gligar. And now you can see the matchups are much more in Goodra's favor, right? 600 on the win for the 0 shield. That means about a third of your health is still around. The 1 shield matchup is still kind of close, but you still win with 24 HP. And the 2 shield, you actually farm them all the way down with fast moves. You come out with 100 energy here at the end and about half your health left. So this breakpoint could be very interesting. The number to go for here is 119.6 attack on your Goodra. That basically guarantees it against any Shadow Gligar that you're going to be seeing. Another breakpoint that's going to be interesting here is against Lickitung. Normally your Dragon Breaths will once again only be doing 3 damage to Lickitung, but that can get bumped up to 4 if you happen to have enough attack. It takes a decent amount of attack, though, unfortunately, if you want to get this, but we can see that it does kind of help out this matchup. This here is going to be without the bulk point. You can see you lose every even shield matchup. It's a pretty hard loss here in the zeros, and the other matchups are kind of close, but, still not great. And if we bump this up all the way to 122 attack, that is the number to look for if you want the Lickitung breakpoint, then we can take a look at it, and we can see there's actually ways for you to win now. The zeros are still a loss, but it's a soft loss now. You just lose with about 20 HP on the Lickitung left. And then the 1s and 2s, it's actually a win and then a tie. So this breakpoint is very helpful against Lickitung. However, you have to sacrifice some bulk in order to get it. Alright, so let's talk about Thunder Punch itself now. Thunder Punch is a move that has been kind of divisive in the community. I know a lot of top PvP players are very excited to see this, but then I've seen some content creators out there who've kind of said Thunder Punch isn't the best move to see. In my opinion, Thunder Punch is a fantastic move. The best thing about it is it has super effective damage against Skarmory, it has super effective damage against Azumarill, and it has super effective damage against Dugong. These are 3 of the most common Dragon-type answers in the game, so even though you might not necessarily flip those matchups head-to-head, having play into them is amazing. It gives Goodra a lot more flexibility. Alright, so let's take a look at what Thunder Punch is actually going to get for us here. I know that Goodra did have super effective coverage against Azu in the past with Power Whip, but now you have a bit of a cheaper move with Thunder Punch, which is pretty interesting here. We can see that there is actually a way to flip Azumarill here in the 2 shield. It's kind of hard to do, but it's possible. If you have 3 Dragon Breaths advantage, so if you say swap your Goodra, and they answer you with an Azumarill, and you double bait, you can actually win the 2 shield matchup as the Goodra with Thunder Punch here. It's not the most consistent win out there, obviously. You have to double bait with an Aqua Tail against a water type, but if you can do this, you can flip the 2s. You barely survive, but it's possible here that you can actually put in work against Azu. If we take a look at what the old moveset was, right, with Power Whip, you can see that there's never a chance to flip this matchup. So having an ability to maybe flip this, that's kind of interesting, right? Alright, another big one that we haven't even talked about yet is Mantine. Mantine is kind of an annoying Pokemon for a lot of Dragon types because it has access to Ice Beam. At least it can a lot of the time. You don't know until you no-shield it and then it one-shots your Dragon. So being able to have a Dragon type that has good coverage against that's going to be pretty important. Let's take a look at how the old Goodra would do into Mantine. Yeah, the old Goodra into Ice Beam, it's kind of terrible, right? Let's check out what happens if you have Thunder Punch. Now with Thunder Punch, the matchups are still kinda bad, but you do have win conditions here. You can win the zeros pretty consistently. The ones and twos aren't quite as bad, and I'm sure this is even with baiting. What if the Mantine doesn't bait? What if you shield an Ice Beam? Then you just happen to win. That is what is so good about Thunder Punch Goodra. You can take down Pokemon even with Ice-type attacks. You can take down fairies, you can take down Steel types, and we'll be getting into a couple more interesting matchups here in just a second. Alright, so the next matchup I want to take a look at here is going to be Mandibuzz. Mandibuzz in the past was always a little bit annoying for Goodra, right? Because when you had Power Whip and Aqua Tail, you're forced to just kind of throw Aqua Tails against such a bulky Pokemon. You can see that this matchup hits pretty bad, right? You don't even win here if your Goodra shields once and the Mandibuzz doesn't even shield. The only times you'd ever win is if you invest 2 shields, and you'd only win the 2-0, 2-1 matchups. You don't even win the 2-2. So you can see Aqua Tail Goodra is not exactly the best answer to Mandibuzz. But we can swap that over to Thunder Punch here, and it changes drastically. You still lose the 1s, but you end up picking up the 0s, you end up picking up the 2s pretty easily here. And yet again, another matchup that's decently common that Thunder Punch Goodra is going to be able to flip. Alright, then another matchup I wanted to take a look at was Poliwrath. Poliwrath we used to have Power Whip for as a way to hit it for super effective damage, but Power Whip's very expensive. It's kind of bait reliant if you want to actually land it on a Poliwrath. So we can see that the matchup here, it's not actually that consistent. You barely win the 0s, you barely win the 2s, and that's with a double bait. And you still pretty easily lose the 1s. So if we switch this over to Thunder Punch Goodra, it's going to change things up quite a bit. We actually lack the raw damage here in the 0s, but we have an ability to win the 1s and win the 2s consistently. This is another very important matchup. Poliwrath, I think a lot of people are going to use this as an anti-dragon because it's just generally a Pokemon that has a lot of fast move pressure and has super effective Ice-type damage that can start debuffing dragons. So most dragons start to struggle in extended scenarios. Goodra is able to power its way through. And finally, we've been talking about it for quite a while now. This is the big one. This is the matchup that we really like to see. Most dragons struggle with Skarmory. You can see that with Goodra on just Aqua Tail Power Whip, it's never going to be a win. The 0s, hard loss. The 1s, pretty bad loss. The 2s, kind of close. But you still always lose. So let's take a look at Thunder Punch and what that's going to give us. I know what you guys are saying. You still lose the 0s, you still lose the 1s, you barely win the 2s. That's not what I'm looking at. I'm seeing that you win the 2s. It doesn't matter how close it is. It doesn't matter that you lose the 0s and the 1s. The fact that you can win the 2-shield matchup for a dragon type is absolutely insane. We have Zvilis that can put in some work if you get like a double body slam bait and then land a Dark Pulse. But look, Goodra can do this straight Thunder Punch here, right? We have no baits, just straight up Thunder Punch, and you win the 2-shield matchup. This is absolutely huge. It's a Pokemon that can do well into Whiscash and Skarmory, a very common duo in the Go Battle League, and it's hard to hard wall this Pokemon, right? If you're resisting both Aqua Tail and Thunder Punch, then it's a pretty good chance Dragon Breath's going to be doing a ton of damage to you anyway. So Goodra's Dragon, Water, and Electric type coverage is actually such a well-rounded trio. I know they could have given Goodra something like Breaking Swipe or maybe made a custom move just for this community day, but I think that Thunder Punch was a very smart choice. It's not going to be super broken, but it's going to put Goodra into a place in the meta where it has a unique role, and I think it's going to be so fun to use, especially against people who think Skarmory is a hard answer to all Dragon types. And honestly, I'm happy they didn't give it Breaking Swipe. I've never been a fan of coin flips. Breaking Swipe is a 50% chance to get an attack drop, and it's not really a great move if you don't get that. So it's always like a coin flip if you're going to get the use out of that move. So seeing Thunder Punch here, it's just consistent, it's good coverage, and I'm honestly very happy to see this as the Community Day move. Alright, thank you all so much for watching today's video. If you want to see more Pokemon Go content like this, make sure to subscribe. If you liked the video today, please make sure to leave a comment, leave a like, it really helps out the channel. I also stream almost every day on twitch.tv/itsaxon if you want to see Pokemon Go content live. Alright everyone, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.